Good evening. 80 passengers and the driver had a narrow escape when a K&B double-decker bus caught fire in Wong Tai Sin. The dramatic incident happened on Lung Chung Road near the tail end of this evening's rush hour. A passenger noticed smoke at the back end of the bus and alerted the driver, who stopped the vehicle and ordered everyone out. The bus was gutted by the fire, which was put out after 20 minutes. It's suspected that the blaze was caused by a mechanical problem. The Cheung Wan wholesale market reopened today, increasing the amount of locally raised chickens available to shoppers. But despite a bigger supply, prices have not come down. ATV's Winner Wong reports.
The Cheung Wan wholesale market reopened today, 3 weeks after it was shut, following the discovery of the H7 avian flu virus in a batch of mainland chickens. During the closure of the wholesale market, chickens raised locally were sent to an inspection center in Ta Koo Ling before being distributed to wet markets across the city. The site could only handle around 6,000 birds a day, triggering a rise in the price of chickens. Now that the Cheung Wan market is up and running again, supply has increased. 17,000 local chickens were sent there today for checks and redistribution. But there's been no comfort for consumers. Vendors said the price remains the same at around $60 a catty. Fresh mainland chickens are still banned, and it's not known when imports can begin again.
We certainly hoped the mainland poultry supply could be resumed before the Lunar New Year. But I think there is more to be done for the mainland authorities to ensure the infection control measures before the resumption, so as to minimize the risk of introducing avian flu into Hong Kong.
According to Ko, imports can resume only a day or two after the mainland makes appropriate arrangements. Winner Wong, ETV News.
The Occupy protests last year have been blamed for Hong Kong sliding down an index of the world's most livable cities. The SAR is now 33rd on a list headed by Singapore. ATV's Emily Siu reports.
Last year's Occupy mass protests hogged international headlines for weeks, if not months. While many were impressed by the generally peaceful nature of the 79-day protest, the pro-democracy campaign did change perceptions about Hong Kong. According to consulting firm ECA International's latest Global Livability Index, the SAR dropped 16 places last year, from 17th to 33rd. The plunge was blamed squarely on the road blockades during the sit-ins.
We've seen considerable manifestation of social political tensions, anti-government protests. So that had an indirect impact on the lifestyle of all Hong Kong residents, both local-born residents as well as the expatriate population here in Hong Kong.
Protest sites were cleared last month, but the city's political reform plans appear to have reached a dead end, with pan-Democrats vowing to vote down the government's electoral blueprint in June. That could trigger another wave of protests and could foil a rebound on the index.
Then we will unlikely see Hong Kong rise back up in those rankings throughout the course of the next 12 to 24 months.
Other Asian cities ahead of Hong Kong in the Livability Index include Singapore, ranked number 1, Australia's Adelaide and Sydney in joint second, while Osaka is 4th.
23 people were killed in fires across Hong Kong last year, almost double the number in 2013. Firefighters received more than 36,000 calls last year and met their response target 90% of the time. ATV's Alison Chan reports.
Fire Services Director Lai Man-hin told the media today that fires claimed 23 lives last year, compared with 12 deaths in 2013. The number of people injured was 295, down from 369 in the previous year. Firefighters were called out 36,335 times last year, a decrease of 1.2% from 2013. Around 90% of the cases were handled within the targeted response time. The fatalities included Principal Fireman Leung Kwok-kei, who died from severe head injuries suffered in a gas explosion at a public housing estate in Shek Kip Mei in November. 8 other firefighters were injured, 5 of them critically. Lai said an internal investigation into the deadly blast will be released to the public. He also pledged to review firefighting equipment and ensure better protection for firefighters. Alison Chan, ATV News.
A local NPC delegate has defended his controversial proposal for China's national security law to be implemented in Hong Kong. The Beijing loyalist says that's because the SAR government has not set up a table to enact Article 23. Here's Emily Sue.
Stanley Ng stirred up a storm earlier this week when he suggested that the mainland's national security law be implemented in Hong Kong through an annex in the Basic Law. Even the pro-establishment camp cast doubts about Ng's proposal to fill the gap before the SAR government enacts its own national security laws. Under Article 23 of the Basic Law, Hong Kong is required to introduce legislation to prohibit acts of treason, secession, sedition and subversion against the central government, but there's no deadline. A National People's Congress delegate defended his controversial proposal today, saying he only came up with the idea because the SAR government doesn't even have a timetable for Article 23. He warned the government not to procrastinate indefinitely because it has the constitutional responsibility to enforce national security laws. While blaming the entire public for the delay, Ng singled out pan-Democrats, saying they feel that Article 23 targets them specifically. But he said only those who want to endanger China or split the country should be scared. Speaking during a visit to Fuzhou in Fujian province, Chief Secretary Carrie Lam confirmed that the government has no plans to launch any studies or preparations on Article 23. Pro-establishment lawmaker Priscilla Leung and Jack Lee, a former editor of Hong Kong University student union magazine Undergrad, took to the airwaves this morning as they joined the debate. Lee said he's worried that the magazine and another student publication, which were both denounced by Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying for discussing Hong Kong independence, will be considered illegal under Article 23. Priscilla Leung warned against a rush to endorse national security laws. In response to Ng's proposal, the Communist Party mouthpiece Global Times questioned 6,000 people on the mainland and found that 97% of them support applying China's national security law in Hong Kong. The government had tried to introduce Article 23 in 2003, but after 500,000 protesters took to the streets, the bill was shelved.
More schools have adopted policies against sexual harassment. But first, in our local wrap, the elderly and chronically ill have been urged to be vaccinated against flu. ATV's Joyce Wu reports.
Since the beginning of the year, 70 people suffering from flu-related illnesses have been admitted to intensive care units in public and private hospitals. 31 of the patients died. In a bid to prevent more infections during the current flu season, health officials said the elderly and those with chronic ailments should be vaccinated. Many more schools are adopting anti-sexual harassment policies. The Equal Opportunities Commission said 88% of 500 primary and secondary schools and tertiary institutions polled have implemented such policies.
I think all stakeholders should be concerned because they are legally binding to observe this anti-sexual harassment policy in order to protect their staff, their students, and it is their responsibility to do just that.
Sair noted that more teachers have been trained to stop sexual harassment. Around 50 residents of the city's only private rental housing estate have staged a protest against its operator's decision to build flats for young people on the site. The demonstrators from Tai Hang Sai Estate in Shek Kip Mei chanted slogans outside government headquarters in Tamar. They are demanding to be relocated in the same district or be given priority to buy government-subsidized homes. Joyce Wu, ATV News.
A new security scare has emerged following reports that more than 300 Chinese nationals have passed through Malaysia to join the Islamic State militant group in Iraq and Syria. ATV's Arthur Okiola reports.
Malaysia's national news agency Bernama quoted Home Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi as saying more than 300 Chinese nationals had used the country as a transit point on their way to the Middle East. Their final destination was Iraq or Syria, where the extremist group Islamic State has seized large areas. Ahmad Zahid was given the information by the Chinese Vice Public Security Minister Meng Hongwei at a meeting in Kuala Lumpur. Both countries said they were concerned about the development and would try to tackle the problem jointly. The security scare follows a surge in violence in Xinjiang, where Muslim Uyghurs have accused Chinese authorities of trampling on their religious and cultural rights. In Tokyo, Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga insisted that his country would not cave into a threat by Islamic State to kill 2 Japanese hostages. The militants say the pair will die unless Tokyo pays a ransom of $200 million. Arthur Ricchiola, ATV News.
Protests have erupted in the US after another case of police killing a black man. Footage captured from a dashboard camera of a police vehicle showed the tense moments when officers, one black and the other white, stopped a car near Philadelphia. The officers drew their weapons after one of them thought he saw a gun in the vehicle. When a man got out with his arms raised, they shot and killed him. The shooting happened last month, but the footage was released only this week. Sports now, starting with the Asian Cup. China were left heartbroken after they were beaten by host Australia in the quarterfinals.